Hey Libra, what's going on? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. First card out is Judgment. You may finally be taking the time to look at something, to think about something, to decide something. Feels like a big topic on your mind here. There can be change potentially involved in this. Something that you either dealt with in the past or you've been dealing with for a while, it feels like it's coming up, but it can feel like it's happening at an annoying time. So the way that I'm seeing this, the devil kind of feels like a bit of a nuisance. Like, you know, when you have, let's use the example of like a mental health thing that pops up sometimes, okay? So it's like sometimes you're fine and like it doesn't really cross your mind, or it's not really a thing that you feel like you have to deal with or work with. And then other times it's showing up and it's like, now I'm like having these symptoms again, or something is reoccurring. This can even be a physical health thing. The way that I'm seeing the devil is like this annoying thing that it may be really difficult to work with is coming back. The devil can also be like an annoying fear thing that's coming up. Like, I'm saying annoyance because the way that this Six of Cups is looking at the devil, it's kind of like why are you showing up now? Or, oh, now I have no other choice than to deal with you. It's kind of like this thing that you can't really ignore, so you don't have a choice besides to deal with it. But you can be like, I thought that I left this behind. I thought that I put this in the past, and now this thing is sort of popping up again, and you have to deal with it. This feels like your own, like, curated thing that pops up that can be... It's something that may pull you in or drag you in, where it's like you have to actually exterminate this thing. When I say exterminate, I mean more so bring it into a place where it's not so severe or it's not out of balance. This feels more like a manifestation of something, and it can also feel like an impulse or something like that, but it can be something where it's like, oh, I dealt with you already, why are you coming back again? Like that type of thing. So it can be like an old fear that's coming up. It can be an old attachment that's coming up. It can be a connection. It can be a relationship. It can be a person. But it's something that when it appears, you can feel like you don't have any other choice than to look at it and have to deal with it. But you can be like, why can't you just stay in the past? And it can feel just annoying the way, maybe the can of worms that this opens for you, whatever it might be. And it can be a type of energy where you maybe don't want to deal with it currently. This feels like a resurfacing though. I don't see this as being around all the time. It feels like it only comes up sometimes. So it's like you only break out in this rash like when it hits 90 degrees outside. Like it's something like that, where if sort of the situation is right, this is something that rears itself. This can also be a review of something that had done that in the past as well. Judgment and Wheel of Fortune, what this means, Judgment is like, don't look away from this. As annoying as it can be, as inconvenient as it can be, as whatever, as you see this to be, look at it. Don't look away from it, look at it, don't ignore it, look at it. Wheel of Fortune is about, through your analysis of this, this is like a very Plutonic energy here, starting with Judgment. This is breaking this down. Where is this coming from? Let me understand this. Let me dissect it. So it's like taking this to your biology class, taking this thing energetically to your biology class, and you're going to like vivisect this thing here to get an understanding of it. Maybe so it's not so potent, so it's not so powerful. This will not have power over you once you're able to understand it. Wheel of Fortune feels like you're going to see different things this time around when you're looking at this. You're going to notice stuff you didn't notice before. Your knowledge, your understanding of this is going to be different this time around. And again, this feels like an old energy that before, like in the past, you could have been in the clutches of. Now when it pops up, it feels like you already know the deal, but it may not make it any less potent, but you're familiar with it. And now through Judgment and Wheel of Fortune, it feels like through an understanding of this and where it's coming from, it takes away the power of this and it puts you back in an empowering seat where you're not like, it's just this thing that has control over me. Like, I actually understand this. I understand how to work with it. I understand where it's coming from. Maybe you're also going to understand where this originates from and why it pops up when it does. So rather than feeling like a random visit or an inconvenient one, you'll be like, okay, that's telling me something. There's a message here and I need to do this. And even though it can be a very strong message or a strong feeling or a strong impulse or a very strong fear, whatever this thing is, or magnitude, something that's magnetizing you, if you can understand more about this, it feels again like it's not going to have this sort of power over you. So it's sort of returning, but I feel like you're in a different space this time around when this thing returns. And so I feel too like maybe in the past you could have pushed this away. Maybe in the past it was something where you're like, I know it's there and I'm just going to ignore it. You know, it can be things like that where that was like your way of dealing with it before. I feel like your way of dealing with it now is like, let me actually take a microscope and let me slide that underneath and let me really understand the inner workings of this. So I take away the power of this because there's not going to be any more unknown stuff. I'm going to fully understand this. And then it's going to help you like integrate the energetic message that this carries with it. I feel like that's really in depth. Like, we only have 4 cards out here, but that's what I'm feeling. I'm seeing Pluto, I'm seeing Jupiter, and I'm also seeing Capricorn here. You're really going to work it out this time, I'll tell you that. You may actually make peace with this when you understand it too, because I think you're not going to be scared of it anymore, even if that's not like the first thing that you're feeling. The part of you that's resistant to this, resistant to accepting this, resistant to acknowledging it, it comes from a place of fear of knowing what this thing is. But then when you know what it is, it's not going to hold that power over you anymore. So you're actually like doing the most effective thing here by understanding it. And maybe before you were like, I don't want to understand with it. I don't want to understand it. I don't even want to deal with it. You know, I feel like that type of resistance, even when it initially pops up this time. But now I'm seeing you be different, where it's like, this actually can't have control over me if I'm willing to understand it, if I'm willing to learn about it and understand how it works. Like, it won't have that power. You'll be the one that has the power. So it'll feel like a different experience. Rather than this thing coming up and you feeling like you're at the mercy of it, it's going to be the other way around. I do feel, I will say this, describing this energy, I do feel like this is one of those things that can be annoying because it's a very powerful energy that you're dealing with. And so it can come at an inconvenient time where you're like, I didn't have time to deal with this, but now I feel like you have the time of day, or you're making the time of day to address this. So it feels like something that could have taunted you before, and through being like, I'm gonna deal with this, it feels like it doesn't hold that power over you anymore. Can be, I think that's difficult to look at, but I'm seeing this be the direction that you're going to put your focus in. And also, like, why this bothers you, why does this worry why does this bring up what it brings up for you? Like, why is this your response to this thing popping up? Going to allow for a change. Yeah, I feel like you're looking at an energy that can feel like it tantalizes you in some way, or just like won't really leave you alone sometimes. And this feels like you gotta get up and you gotta do something about it and sort of like go play with it, like go interact with it. Even though you can be like, I don't want to play this type of game though, but you sort of have to learn like how this works. And it feels like it's going to allow you to change your mind. Like, really think about that statement, change your mind. Change your perception of this, change your perspective. So it's not going to be that thing that you feel that conflict towards, that resistance towards. I also do feel too with this that there may be a part of you that's like, I don't want to have to, or maybe in the past, because I'm seeing you be in a slightly different space now. In the past, you may have been like, I don't want to confront this, and Nine of Swords looking at Five of Swords, you can still kind of feel that, but at the same time, there may be something within you that's like, why am I so resistant to confronting this though? Like, if this is something that's going to be there regardless, you know that you're going to have to confront it in order for it not to be a thing anymore. And I think you're at a point where you're like, I don't want this to be a thing anymore. Like, it doesn't have to be as big of a deal as it is. But I do get like a looming energy for sure about this. About this thing from your past or this experience. Okay. This does pop up unexpectedly. Like, you didn't expect that to be the thing that's rapping at your door. However, here it is. And it can feel like, this can feel like it happened at a time that really flipped your world upside down in the past. It could have been the culprit, like, of a lot of towers in the past for you too. And in the past, it could have been something where you just felt this uncontrollable energy came out that was very, very difficult to direct. Maybe too, also something that comes up that has to deal with confrontation, confronting this energy, like rather than resisting it, to just like play that game with it. In the past, like, something really wild may have come from this, or just something very disorienting or destabilizing. So there can be a part of you that almost felt powerless, at the mercy of this energy in the past. But I'm not seeing that be the story any longer. And if you're willing to look into this, you're totally going to rewrite this. It's not going to be like that anymore. But in the past, what could have happened is that this could have felt very destructive, and that can be where part of the fear is of like, if I step into that, there's the potential of this sort of coming up. And I think too that this can be you being uncomfortable at times with your Mars energy. So this can be something that's actually being rectified through this experience. Like, you're gonna learn how to handle this type of situation, whereas before you could have been like doing anything to sort of not address this, or be like, I'm not even acknowledging that it's here. Now this feels like I'm in this space where I'm gonna try to understand this, where it's coming from, why it's happening, in order for you to feel like this doesn't have that like infinite power over you. There could have also been a fear, and this can be something that you're still working through right now, a fear of, if I confront this, what is then gonna happen? So this can be needing to call something out, you know? You can be needing to confront somebody about something, confront yourself about this thing, confront your past. And there could have been a part of you that's like, if I do that though, is my whole world gonna collapse in on itself? Because maybe the last time that you boldly confronted something, even if it's a long time ago, something really maybe dramatic or traumatic or destabilizing happened, and it put a really bad taste in your mouth. So there can be a part of you that now doesn't like to be confrontational because of that, because it's like, I had to deal with the repercussions of that then. But I feel like it could have been something that was like very much out of your control in the past. Because some of you, this goes back to childhood or family situations and or. But then you felt like this type of situation always had a hold on you. And it may be something kind of unavoidable as well. This feels like a lot of reflecting is happening, a lot of tuning in, a lot of connecting with your third eye to understand this. I'm seeing you break down something that can feel very worrisome to you. It's like having to stare your fear or your attachment or your avoidance or your escapism like right in the face and deal with it. And judgment is going to help you see the light. It's the light meaning what you're not seeing yet, what may still not be conscious. This is going to help you bring a lot of stuff into a conscious space of awareness for you. I do feel like you kind of unexpectedly have to deal with something here at the same time. It feels like you're better learning how to maneuver through situations like this. This is about conflict from the past popping up. So whether you're playing this out with another person or it's just a really strong memory of something popping up, this time you are going to be working it out. And it's not going to have that power over you anymore. But it could have popped up in a way where it was like you just had to deal with this. And the part of you that's like, oh, I didn't want to have to deal with this or whatever, is sort of being faced with no other option. It's like if you want to make any move from here, you're going to have to go through this first. And there's a part of you that's like, I feel like this is slightly disruptive to my life. But at the same time, it's always going to be able to be there looming over you until this is something that you address. And so now is really the time to get into it and address it. The way that this Five of Swords is too, I feel like you're coming up against an energy that part of you can feel deterred from dealing with this because it's not like a teammate, it's more of an adversary type of energy. Like a conflict that's being worked out. So the part of you that's like, oh, why can't things just be peaceful? It's like, well, even if you don't deal with this, it's still not going to be peaceful because you know it'll just be underneath the surface. This feels like one of those times where it's surfacing and it won't go away and you just have to address it now. But I'm also seeing you be very capable of doing so. I'm not seeing anything that's going to go over your head or that you're not ready for. There can be like your ego telling you you're not ready for this because it's like scared of assimilating this energy. And this can be a really big thing that you're addressing here that feels really powerful, but you gain power over this when you understand it. And that's really the key here. It's just to understand this, but you're going to have to look at it to understand it. And be willing to admit that it's there and that it's going on. But it's going to allow this to change into a different type of energy. You're not going to feel this conflict anymore. Past stuff, reflecting on this past stuff, Libra. Breaking down where this conflict is coming from. Stuff from your past coming up here, being broken down, being analyzed, getting answers. as well. There can be a part of you that sort of like was maybe hesitant to learn something because of how things would change then if you did. Like, Nine of Swords is that part of you that's like, I have to accept where this cycle is going, and the Wheel of Fortune is like, what's going to change if you really go down this route? But it's the type of change that is like a metamorphosis type of change. It's an evolving type of change. It's a like, I'm growing and I'm learning and I'm understanding things type of change. So it's one where there's like a dissolution of ignorance here, and it's going to be replaced by awareness and by understanding. And this feels like a really big thing to me. Just energetically, the way that I'm seeing this, like, I understand why you would be resistant. I understand why this is bringing up anxiety or fear, or just like a not good feeling of anticipation of sort of having to address this. Like, I understand that it's like very natural and normal for you to be like feeling that sort of reticence in the direction of this. But I feel like there's like no other way to go other than through this. And I'm also seeing you be ready. I'm seeing you really be able to go there to work with this. But you can feel like it's the biggest, most daunting thing that you're going to be looking in the face. To have it be you looking at the devil too, this can be so many different things. This is about, at the end of the day, the way that like nothing material is forever. That can be also a big part of this. How like the external world, is susceptible to decay and to all of that, even though it's going to be reborn as another energy. But it feels like there's some type of attachment that is like, oh, like I'm gonna have to take the cover off of this and see what's really going on there. But this is something that's going to also like make you closer with yourself too. And I think that you can look at something and be like, wow, it's like shrouded in fear when I look at it. But as you like as you peel the layers back and you look at this, like, it's not, I feel like there's just going to be like more resolution, and you're actually going to be able to feel at peace with this. But at first you have to take off the top layers, and those are like the deepest, scariest things of this. I am getting this feeling again that this has to do with the fleeting nature of things. So it can be like coming to terms with the changes that are happening. It can be coming to terms with like the aging that's happening of something, of things in general, of relationships. It can be about death, it can be about destruction, about the decay of things, the aging of the body, or of relationships, or of the world, the advancement of things, the decline of things. It feels like it has to do all with the cycles of stuff that's happening, and things that you're like, this is unavoidable, unescapable. So that thing that may be at the pit of your stomach having to do with this, that can feel like the most daunting of tasks to look in the face of this, your attachment to something that is fleeting. In admitting it to yourself, you're going to be liberated from this, and you're going to be tapping into like your deeper knowing. Sometimes we avoid looking at something and looking too deeply at something because we're so scared of what we find, but it's like in the not looking at it that perpetuates the fear. And when you really dissect this, you're not going to find fear at the bottom of it. You're going to find liberation. I'm seeing Capricorn, I'm seeing Virgo, I'm seeing Mars, Pluto, I'm hearing Taurus, and I'm also seeing Jupiter, and we have the moon on the bottom of the deck. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.